About two-thirds of all employees surveyed actually responded that they were satisfied overall with their work. And that's a pretty staggering number because if you look at everything that has happened over the past few years, it's been tough.
Are you a team manager struggling to lead your team well? Have you been asked to lead HR, but it's your first time? Or are you an HR pro looking for your tribe? While We Were Working is the show for you. With quick tips and tough topics in 30 minutes or less, the Jumpstart HR team is here for you. So let's get into it. Discover the ultimate balance between work and life with Whole Self Thursdays, an extraordinary webinar series presented by Jumpstart HR. This groundbreaking series is specifically designed to equip entrepreneurs with the essential tools to maintain a healthy and prosperous lifestyle. Join us into a diverse range of topics spanning both professional and personal spheres, from optimizing productivity to nurturing well-being. Whole Self Thursdays provides invaluable insights and fosters connections within a supportive community. Prepare for a transformative journey every Thursday where you'll elevate your mindset, enhance your skills, and achieve holistic success. Don't miss out on this game-changing experience for entrepreneurs. Register now at community.jumpstart-hr.com/whole/self/Thursdays. Unlock the secret to a thriving work-life balance, brought to you by Jumpstart HR. Hey, we are hitting it strong. This is episode 79. That means we've been at this for almost 2 years. I can't believe it.
Gosh.
Time flies.
I was just thinking about the same thing, Joey. I was looking at the episode number and I thought, wow, we're like you said, we're going strong, and 2 years is right around the corner. It's amazing how fast time has flown.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's flown. It's been fun. Maybe we'll save a full reflection on the 2-year anniversary. But my goodness, we've seen quite a bit of work topics. Let me do the intro. It's While We Were Working, it's the show to help you become a better leader of your small business or team. I'm Joey Price. This is Summer Keytron. We are the team, part of the team at Jumpstart HR, where we help small businesses and startups with their HR and recruiting outsourcing. 2 years. It's incredible. It's amazing. There's still more room to grow and opportunities to take on. So I am beyond excited. We've got a fun show today, Summer. What do you think?
Yeah, I love these topics. We always have something different to share. And today's article for While We Were Working was actually one that I saw on a wide variety of sources. But I know our listeners are very, very busy, and there's a chance that they still yet may not have seen it because they were so busy working. So this week's article was actually published early May. The one I'm referring to was in the CNN business section, and it's called U.S. Employees Are More Satisfied Than Ever. And what they're talking about is the Conference Board survey. And this is a survey that started way back in 1987. I think I was in middle school, elementary school. I don't know. I'm not going to give away my age, but it talks about how some of the most recent factors that we've seen coming out of COVID have resulted in the highest level of job satisfaction that they've ever seen in that time. And I thought that's definitely worth talking about because there's some lessons learned in there.
Yeah, the article hit a few gems in there. And, before we say we've arrived at an end goal, I think it's important to be a realist and say, even though employees are the happiest they've ever been since recent history, it doesn't mean that they are the happiest that they could be. And, here at Jumpstart, we want to help more people get excited about Monday than Friday. And that means helping people love their jobs. And we work with groups that you know have team members that don't quite love their job, don't quite love the climate and the culture. But this article is a good sign. It's a good step. It means we're trending in the right direction. And so, what are some of the things that you saw that stood out to you about how we're trending?
Sure thing. I'd say first is to note that about 2/3 of all employees surveyed actually responded that they were satisfied overall with their work. And that's a pretty staggering number because if you look at everything that has happened over the past few years, it's been tough for people just in life and work. But it should be no surprise that employees with a hybrid or remote work are actually of a segment that's reporting greater satisfaction. And I'm going to pause there simply because we've talked about over many episodes, Joey, that I think it was Facebook actually who did an analysis and said that their on-site workers were actually higher performing. Do you remember that one?
I do remember that. Yeah.
And so to me, I'm thinking, okay, we have kind of these two spaces. We have workers who are on site who are being rated as higher performing, but then we have survey data that says your employees are happier if they're hybrid or working remote. So to me, that says, okay, if I'm an employer and I'm looking to take this data and do something meaningful with it, that I need to figure out where is that happy medium? Because if you have highly satisfied and high performing employees, that's the secret sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree because that's what we aim for, right? We want that healthy middle ground where people are properly challenged. There's growth. There's opportunities to make an impact, and that is the tension that we wrestle with day in and day out when we think about building great culture. Um, can I share something from the actual survey?
Of course. What you
Okay,
got?
cool. So maybe we'll even drop the links to this too. I'm a big data nerd, right? So there's a figure in the job satisfaction survey. It says at the end of 2022, workers reported increased satisfaction in all job components that we surveyed. But Summer, do you want to know the area where they were least satisfied?
Oh man.
It improved, but they were least satisfied in this area.
Okay, I want to guess. Can I guess? Can I get like
Yeah,
two
go for it.
guesses?
You can
Okay.
get three strikes.
Total guesses.
Yep.
Is one of them career development or training?
Training, yeah, job training is it's in the bottom four. It's in the bottom four. I'm eyeballing like 20 things. It's in the bottom four. It's in the bottom four.
Okay.
hmm
Okay. Is
That one
it
for perspective,
mhm.
48.3% were satisfied. Yeah, 48.3% satisfied.
How about like overall, like excluding compensation, like company benefits?
Ooh, that's a great one, Summer. Well, mental health benefits were low,
Hmm.
49%. And
Hmm.
then just benefits in general, um, that actually ranked pretty high, 58.7 percent. That's in the darker blue category. So people were pretty satisfied with health plans. Let's go for one more. You're so close.
Oh man, I know I can't imagine. No, I don't think it's pay. I don't think it's pay. Um, gosh, I don't know. I don't know. You're gonna have to give me one, Joey.
All right. So, a big clue. What season are we in for colleges all across the US?
Oh, I mean, by all means, it's like commitment signing, like some are already going. Um, am I close?
Okay. Yeah, you're close. I was going for graduation. and graduation counts for promotion. So the American workforce that was surveyed by the conference board, the lowest level of satisfaction was promotion policy.
Mm.
40 there was only a 44.9% satisfaction with the promotion policy. If there are things to be unhappy about, if you do love your job, then I can understand wanting to take that next step. But, with all stats, there's a winner and then there's a loser. So promotion policy ranked low in 2020. It was also the lowest in 2021. The highest this year, no brainer, commute to work.
Yeah.
67.7 highest was commute to work.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have to commute to work, you're probably like, great. How long does it take for me to slip some slippers on and walk from my bed to my laptop? So yeah, those are the stats that I wanted to share. We'll drop the full survey link in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. Another thing that stood out: women were less satisfied than men, and of course, we can attribute that to the very real gender pay gap at work and the shortage of women in leadership. So we've got work to do. Like I said, just because employees are the happiest they've been recently doesn't mean we stop here. And so there's some opportunity for us to grow.
I do think that's really great advice. I look at this and say, okay, we've moved the needle. We have started to make some significant changes that are having a positive effect. So let's keep making progress, moving this forward. If 1 out of 3 employees is still answering that they're not satisfied, but still a pretty alarming number.
Yeah. Yeah. So, look at this as if it's me, I'm taking a look at this from a scorecard and saying, how are we doing? And what are some areas that we might want to tinker with? Definitely asking the team, like, what are some things we could do to improve? So yeah, there's some good takeaways from this. Let's go ahead and jump into Consultants Corner. I hear we have a special guest for Consultants Corner. I hear we have the Chat GPT version of Billie Eilish as performed, emphasis on performed by Summer. No pressure to perform, but
oh boy. I mean, once I get some background music and maybe a green screen, then we can talk about it. But let me first tee it up by saying, Consultants Corner is where, Joey and I take a deep dive into, trends, questions from our community, really tackling a topic that you want us to discuss. And this week's topic is a question that came in from our listeners, and they were talking about having employees that took advantage of their time off policies. For example, using sick time when they aren't really sick or taking extended time off. And so we're going to bring to you our little Billie Eilish inspired chorus and pre-chorus on this topic. Drum roll, please. I didn't think I'd really get one. All right, here we go. But we won't let this slide. No, not anymore. It's time to take a stand. Close that open door. We'll change the behavior, set a new standard. Billie's here to guide you with a message so candid. Oh, take control. Don't let them deceive. We'll rewrite the rules, make them truly believe in the power of honesty and the strength of respect. Together, we'll create a workplace that's perfect.
Excellent. That was nice.
Oh boy. Well, hopefully we didn't lose any listeners today. Thank you for sticking around. We just thought that's kind of fun to start our conversation about a pretty popular topic I've seen come up. I don't know why more recently than in prior conversations, but Joey, what do you think about companies that have they have time off policies and they're kind of at a loss with gaining some control around, employees' utilization of their sick time or taking extended time off for personal reasons. And, you know, maybe we can talk about like how do we help change that behavior?
Yeah. So, and don't hold me to this. This is just my hunch, but I think that this dovetails into the conversations that we were having on last week's episode about there being a greater push for return to office.
Hmm.
And with there being a greater push for return to office, you're seeing that people don't have the same liberties and flexible work arrangements that they are accustomed to,
Hmm.
and that might be disrupting kind of their new normal or how they traditionally would be doing business throughout the day. So, for example, if you have built a world around you where you have this 9 a.m. workout class that you enjoy, but you used to wake up at 7 to crank out some work, and then after the workout class, you go back in. If you have to come back into the office, they're probably asking you to report by 8:30 or 9, and you're like, well, screw that. I still want to go to this class.
Yeah.
So I think that as we disrupt people's flow and rhythm, we'll see a little bit of pushback on their use and justification for time off. I just got the craziest idea, but I'll park it because it'll just blow the episode up. Um, but I think that it is. I think that has a lot to do with it. Is the return to office, and I think it's an adjustment. I think we have to
Mhm.
give ourselves more grace and patience for people who are making that return to office. But at the same time, the rules are rules and the standard is a standard. And so managers, bosses, leaders have to identify, hey, how am I going to be accountable to this policy and enforce it? And can I manage that tension of maybe rubbing a high performing person the wrong way because I held them to a law or a rule? Those are some of my thoughts.
I really appreciate your insight because you mentioned quite a few things that I hadn't really thought about or made a connection on. And I agree with you. I think that some of it is indeed that shift in flexibility. I also think that it has to do with this increased push with wanting to provide flexibility to a greater degree than we have historically because we've talked about it that it's something that employees look for. It contributes to their overall work happiness. But where is the balance? I think is the real question that we need to ask. And when I'm talking with clients about this issue, I'm always kind of going back to like, well, what is the company culture that you wish to create? Because there's different ways to tackle this for different companies, and there's not just one solution. So I'm always asking things like, what is your culture? Do you want to, reward for compliance, or have you created a culture that's going to need more of a firm approach, right? So we talk about the carrot or the stick, right? Don't really like the stick analogy, but it works, right?
Yep.
I think that's the first question that needs to be answered is like, what's your culture and like what is your style? Because if you try to shift that swiftly, then it's going to be very difficult to manage that change. So I think that's the like kind of the first piece of trying to solve for this. And then reviewing your policies, updating them if needed, and then kind of doing a giant reset button. And what that typically looks like is retraining supervisors on either the existing or the revised policy and how to manage requests, communicating that, of course, to everybody. And that resetting of expectations is just letting everybody know, hey, like we may not have enforced this in the past, but this these are the rules that we're asking everybody to follow, and then holding managers and the team accountable for following them by being consistent. Because as soon as you let up, then unfortunately, when team members break policy and there's not a consequence for it, then sometimes that's an implied yes, or that it's acceptable to an employee. So I think managing expectations, communicating the policies, and often explaining the why, like why do we need these? Why do they exist? Helps bring a team along better to embracing uh, why we need to have these rules and follow them in the first place.
Yeah, if you can tie a rule or a law with a story or an objective or basically a why, that helps inspire buy-in. One of the questions is how do we change this behavior, and we talked about it. But I think one thing you have to also have in the back of your mind is some people just they can't change their behavior and they won't. And so where do you go from there? Is this something worth putting on a performance improvement plan? Is this something worth docking pay if you're in an environment that affords that allows that? Is it a terminatable thing? You've got to have, kind of in your back pocket, what are you going to do if someone doesn't change behavior? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the tricky part. It's the unfortunate part, but that's what we exist for, is to help
Yeah.
companies navigate that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. You're so right. And I try to always bring it back to the effect on performance. Because if somebody has sick time, yes, it may be inconvenient, the manner in which they're using it. But if as a company you're offering it, then you have to be prepared for team members to utilize it. And yes, there are some instances where it's a little easier to manage than others. But I think just having the right guardrails and managing from a performance standpoint if you're having problems is a much better approach in my opinion, because if somebody's always absent, the real issue is that their performance is suffering and their team is suffering as a result.
Yeah. Yeah, it's never performance issues. It's never in a vacuum. There are consequences that we have to navigate, and that's why managers need training. That's why really smart advisors need to be in the room for things like this. Because what's our mantra, Summer? You shouldn't trust your gut or Google. And this is another example where you shouldn't trust your gut or Google to handle a problem like
Yeah.
this one. So, yeah.
I could not agree more, because while I think we've stayed very much on the surface of this today, there are a whole host of compliance concerns when it comes to sick time, potentially denying sick time. We talked a little bit about performance as it relates to absences. Of course, there are plenty of laws in many states and areas protecting team members, essentially any adverse action if they're using protected time. So I think just because we've covered this very much at the surface, to know that these situations can be immensely complex, and we don't recommend that you navigate them on your own.
Yeah, absolutely not. You want someone who not only can come up with an awesome Billie Eilish take on this, but from experience, help navigate your team to predictable success. And so you've got to work with a team that has past performance in that. And so we're that team. So if you need help, if this topic was a sore spot in your organization and you're like, oh, we gotta fix this, reach out to us at jumpstart-hr.com, because we create this show pretty much to showcase some practical tips and news that you should be aware of but also as a reminder that, hey, we're the team to help you with these challenges. And so, yeah, reach out to us at jumpstart-hr.com and let us know how we can be of help. We offer a 15-minute initial consult to get a download of what's going on. And we have quite a few packages and offerings to meet you where your organization is and help you get to that next level. So, Summer, you have any parting thoughts?
I'm just over here laughing to myself, thinking, gosh, please, Joey, do not promise that they can get their 15-minute consultation in the style of any artist of their choice.
No, I would never. I would never, because that's a very high pressure situation there. And yeah. But I might be able to give you a thank you email in the style of an artist. But in order to get that thank you email, you've got to schedule that call. So reach out to us and we will help you. And if you need help with other topics, maybe you just want to browse our growing category of shows and topics and content, check us out. We've got a YouTube channel, we've got a podcast, and a website that's got a blog. So until next time, have a great week.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Joey.